Hello everyone, I'm Colin Canet. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is about woodworking techniques. For example, I'm going to be reconfiguring the doweling jig. I'm going to be using the squaring jig. We're going to be doing roundovers on the router, all sorts of different things in order to make this luggage stand. It's a weekend project. You'll be able to make a useful. This is a little bit taller, so it's really easy to use, folds up, takes up no room, and if you're going over to your relatives, you might even want to make one of these and take it over. They'll thank you forever. It's a perfect luggage stand. You could use it for all sorts of other things too. You might need it in the laundry room. Maybe there's a time when you're sorting laundry, and if you have collections, maybe you've got a storeroom with some totes in it. You could use it as a tote stand for sorting through totes that you have, all sorts of different things that you could do with this. So today, that's what the build is. To get started, we're going to be breaking down some lumber. I'm going to show you how you can save time and some money and make life easier for yourself. So let's jump in. Okay, to start off with, I've just checked the wood. It's 12%. It's a little bit wetter than I normally like, but for this it will work fine. Now I'm using my circular saw to break the wood down because it's a little bit warped. And I see people on the internet making a big fuss over warped wood, and then they end up making like cutting boards or something out of it. Anyway, I'm going to show you a trick after this. It's a little bit warped that's going to save you time and wood. But let me break this down first of all. Okay, there's my cut, and you can see there's a little bit of warp. And because I can push on these sides, that means that this side and this side are a little bit high. So if I flip it over, that's this side and this side. So all I want to do now is take a little bit off each of these and then take it to my jointer. There we go. There's basically nothing there. Okay, perfect. Over to the jointer. So this species is Garry Oak. It's a local hardwood that's available in my area. It's a nice wood, and I see that I've uncovered some figuring in this as well, so that's even a bonus. So anyway, let's start cutting this up to size. Okay, I've cut all of the legs to length. What I want to do now is to draw a curve at the top and the bottom of each leg. Just like that. And then I'll take those over to the bandsaw and cut those off. Okay, I've got my wedges in. There we go. May even be a little snug. I may want to take just a maybe just sand those off a bit. Before I go any further, I just want to quickly go over what the legs look like. So there's the leg I've rounded over. This is just a test leg because I wanted to see where I wanted to put the cross member. So there's a choice we can make. You could put it on the front like this. You could turn it on edge and put it in the middle, or you could put it upright in the middle. Now I'm going to put mine upright in the middle. And of course I'm using dowels because we really need something really strong for this, because there's going to be suitcases putting on and off this. So we don't want something to come loose with this. So that's why dowels are really the #1 choice for this. So what I've done, and I've done some testing on this, and I really like the look of this. So of course I'm going to be rounding over the top of this because the banding will be going around here, and you'll see that in a little bit. But I've also wanted to drop it down a bit so there's a little bit of a reveal, and it's only for the look of it. There's really nothing mechanical different about this. Regardless of what I did, I would always put 2 dowels in there. When that's glued in there, that'll be super strong. So that's what I'm working towards, and that's what you'll see. So I've reconfigured my doweling jig for sort of edge doweling, and I've put some extensions in here too because I want this to be centered on my 2-inch piece of wood here. It's pretty simple. Now I haven't cut the rounds off here yet, and I haven't done that because I knew I needed to put some dowel holes in here somewhere, and it's just a little easier when it's still flat. So I'm going to miss that hole, and I'm going to go 2, 3, and you can see that's what that'll look like there. So I'm just going to go ahead now, and I'll drill these 2 holes, and I'm just going to do the same thing on the other pieces. There you go, and you can see that I've marked the face of this, and of course that's matching the face of my doweling jig as well. So there it is, that's what that looks like, and I'm just going to carry on and do the rest of them. So I'm at my router table, and I have installed here a 1/4 round bit that is a 3/4 inch. So this wood is 3/4 of an inch, and because it's a 1/4 round, when I cut this part here, there's a 1/4 and there's a 1/4, and that gives me a perfect round. If I did all 4 sides, I could actually make a perfect dowel, and I've actually done that on a previous video. So that's what I'm going to be doing, running it through like that, flip it end for end, and do the other side, and that will give me some perfect round over. So I'll show you that. And there they are. They'll require a little bit of sanding, but they're all ready to go. Okay, now that I've got all my holes, everything's done, now's the time that I can actually take off that. So I'm at the bandsaw doing the round over for the legs. Okay, so all rounded over, and I've taken a moment to sand these down a little bit as well. The next thing I'm going to do, you can see my router here, I'm going to take a very fine edge off of these. I prefer a hard edge these days rather than rounding off, but because this is going to be interacting with people a lot, I'm going to take the sharp edge off this. It's just a 1/16, I think it's just a 1/16 round over, but that'll be enough to take that edge down. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Okay, and the final step before I do some finishing is to do some sanding. So I'm just going to do that, and I'm not going to show you much about this. It's just sanding. Okay, now it's time to do some finishing, and as you can see, I've covered all the dowel holes, and that way I won't get any finish in there, so that the dowels will glue in there perfectly. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started, because some people haven't seen these hard wax oils go on, and you just wipe them on. They're really, I find they're just really bulletproof, and I just love the finish that they put. A very light sheen on the wood. Okay, that was a little bit more of a struggle for me than I expected. Got all the squeeze out glue. I do have that cleaned up, and it looks like, yeah, it looks like it's all accurate. So I want to make sure. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah. Okay, so you can see that I've got this luggage stand on end now. And what I want to do, first of all, I want to quickly show you the hardware that I'm using. So first of all, for the pivot, I'm using these bolts, and I'm not sure what these are called. They're usually for knockdown furniture, but they have a nice flat base, and they fit perfectly on there. And I'm also using a nylon nut on there, so that'll lock on there and that won't come off. I'm going to be using these washers between the two legs so that it's not going to bind ever. And for fastening, I've got some 3-inch webbing here, and I'm going to be using these screws to fasten that to the top. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting this together. So putting the bolt through is easy, but getting all of these to come together is a little bit fussy. And if you look down the top, you can see those coming together somewhere. There we go. There it is. And I'm just going to put this on temporarily now, and I'll tighten these down later. I'll flip it over and do the same on the other side. Now you can see that material's already starting to fray a little bit. What they recommend is that you burn the end of it just to kind of melt it together so that it won't fray anymore. So I'm just going to give a light. There we go. That fixes that up nicely. I'm going to do the same with all of them. Okay, now I'm going to put a staple near the top. Okay, now, I don't know how well these are going to drive in here, but let's try it. Oh, those are fine. That's easy. That's good and strong. Flip that over like that. Okay, now I'll need to do the same thing underneath on this side, but I'm going to do all that row first of all, and then I'll come back on the near side here and do the same thing on this side. Well, that completes my build today, the luggage rack, and there's what the top looks like. I was a little fearful that these bands some would be loose and some would be tight, but look at, they're all sort of the right tension, and I didn't have to do any adjusting to. That was nice. So some of the features that I liked about this, and there's lots of different ways you could make a luggage stand, but some of the features that I liked and the reasons that I made them, all of the legs, you'll notice all of the legs are rounded like that. So wherever, whether it's standing like this or whether it's being used, it's all rounded. There's not a sharp point. If I'd have cut these so that they were flat this way, when you go to put them on edge, there's a sharp point digging into the floor. I didn't want that. I wanted it always to be rounded like that. And for the same reason, the rounding on the top is sort of ergonomically, because people are going to be using this. I wanted this to be smooth up here, so smooth in the bottom matches smooth in the top. The hardware was specifically chosen so that if this was in a hallway or someplace where people walk by it, it's not going to catch on any clothes. So all sorts of different things like that. All of the top here is rounded, and that's easy for the strapping, easy for the luggage. No matter how you lay the luggage on here, it's all rounded. Everything's rounded. So it's pretty easy. It took me probably a weekend to make when you consider waiting for glue to dry and finishing to dry. Just a nice, easy build to get started on this season's woodworking projects. If there's another project that you want to look at, one of my favorite projects, a little table, that'll show up here. I love that little table. I'm probably going to be making another one. I've got some other options I want to explore with it, but if you want to have a look at that for some fun, you can go and check that out too. I'm Colin Canet for Woodwork Web. Thanks for watching.